Okay, it's 5:30 in the morning. Just arrived at the parking space above the Mawddach Estuary near Barmouth. Got about a 15-minute walk now to get to the top. We're going to get a view down across the estuary. Hopefully going to get a sunrise this morning. There's never any guarantees, but the little bit of cloud, the forecast is for sun, so fingers crossed. Here we go. So I've arrived at my location now. I've got a low tide, which is exactly what I wanted because you get the estuary at its best without too much water. I've also got some nice cloud and a little bit of low-hanging mist at the far end of the valley. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up. Now, sunrise is in about 40 minutes, but already the light's pretty nice. So I'll probably start shooting with the stills camera in about the next 5 minutes, and I'll also do a time lapse, I think, over half an hour or so to see what that looks like. The wind is quite low, which is quite nice, so I'm not going to get blown about as I usually do up here. Fingers crossed everything works out okay, and I'll see you later. Okay, here we are, about 10 minutes into the shoot. I have a time lapse in place behind me, which I hope you can see. That's running on the Panasonic, and that's doing about 500 frames, one every 10 seconds. I'm set up here with the Olympus with a fairly short telephoto setting, probably about 90mm in full frame terms, and that allows me to cut out some of the distracting foreground and concentrate on the estuary and the distant hills. Let me just see if I can show you that. Okay, we're nearly at sunrise now, so it's about 6:20. A little bit of the colour has dropped away. I often find this location is better just before the sun actually gets up. It typically tends to lose colour quite quickly, and I think that's what's happening now, although the clouds high in the sky, which I'll just show you now, are starting to pick up a little bit more colour, although I'll have to use quite a strong graduate or work in Lightroom to bring that out. Hopefully though, my time lapse, which is still running and the battery is still going on the Panasonic, is going to come out okay, and also I'm going to get a bit more useful shooting in before I have to call it a day. Okay, the sun's well and truly up now. We're about half an hour after sunrise, or 25 minutes after sunrise. It fortunately hit a bank of cloud about 5 minutes ago, which allowed me to take a few more exposures. But even with that cloud masking the sun out, I had to use a 2-stop hard grad, and I exposure bracketed. I had a few frames where I had heather in the foreground. Let me see if I can just show you that. Okay, and as you can see, or maybe not, the heather was massively underexposed. It was totally black. So I had a 5-frame bracket, 1 stop between each frame. When I get back, I can put them into Lightroom, combine them together, and hopefully get a little bit of foreground detail. Probably not too much, because it can look false with such a bright sun on the horizon, but just enough to show some colour rather than being a silhouette. I think something else you may have noticed compared to some of the earlier shots now, the estuary is starting to fill with water. I can visibly see the tide coming in, and it's losing some of its definition now. The shapes aren't quite as attractive. Rather a large body of water, a lot of reflection. I did prefer it earlier when there was much more of a ribbon, which was much more clearly defined against the sands. Nothing you could do about that, of course. That's nature and the effects of the moon, so blame that. But obviously you've got to time your trips right. Shooting like this in an estuary, It's very important not only to get the weather right, but also your tide times. I'd planned to come a few days ago, but I couldn't make it, unfortunately. I'm glad actually now, because the weather was not only probably a little bit worse than this, but more importantly it was much closer to high tide, so I think I'd arrived probably at the point where there was too much water and I maybe lost that sandbank in the middle, and without that it just becomes a large wash of clear bleached out area on the frame, not very attractive. Toning it down in Lightroom doesn't work, there's no real detail in there, so I'm afraid there's no substitute for getting up at 3:30 and driving for an hour and 45 minutes, sadly. Modern photography in the field. That's me done. Finished up. It's now, time is 7:20, so 1 hour after sunrise. The sun is far too bright now. I can turn around and show you what it's like, but it's just going to wash out totally. Beautiful if you're here though, obviously. The eye is far better than the camera and the sensor for balancing things out. Still got a bit of mist rolling out towards the estuary behind me there, and the sky got a beautiful pattern of clouds in now, but really I could do with getting back. An hour and 3/4. Should be a quiet drive. It's not going to be very busy on the roads, hopefully. Get back, process some of the images. Hopefully I've got something after all my efforts this morning. Been very, very pleasant though. Very, very nice morning, not too warm. A few flies coming out now, and it's going to be a 15-minute walk, thankfully downhill. So I've done my exercise for the day, coming uphill. I'll leave you with a quick last look at Barmouth and the estuary. If it's somewhere you're interested in coming, just drop a comment into the field and I'll give you some directions, especially if you're coming first thing in the morning, because it's quite tricky to find the road coming up. It's very narrow, it's very, very difficult to pass in places, but there are plenty of parking spots at the top, and then you have to wind your way through some woods, which is great fun when it's pitch black, so head torch necessary. A little bit of a climb, not too bad, so it's not going to be too strenuous, but make sure you're prepared. Once you get up here, it's totally open. There's even a nice big bench to sit on to put your gear on, so it's very civilized shooting all around. I'll see you soon.